Hi. So in this video, I want to talk about why retro technology tends to be so popular. And it's very obvious if you spend any time at all on YouTube, you very quickly notice many videos and many channels like Tech Review Guy that take a look at retro technology. And I got thinking about that, and I got wondering why older, outdated technology still tends to be so popular and so in demand. And really, if you're like me and you spend any time at all on online shops like eBay or places like that that sell secondhand materials, you notice very quickly that secondhand cassette decks, secondhand turntables, radios, Walkmen, CD players, there's many of them for sale, and they tend to get snatched up pretty quickly. So I just wanted to explore in this video why I think retro technology still tends to be so popular. Now, the first reason that I can think of, and this is a pretty obvious one, and this is one that I'm guilty of, is nostalgia. Of course, nostalgia can be a very popular, very powerful thing. And if you want to sell something and if you want to have a successful product, it's been proven time and time again, if you can tap into somebody's collective memory, or if you can tap into the feel-good, nostalgic feelings of a certain group of people, you can really sell to those people. Again, nostalgia is a very, very powerful tool it's used time and time again by marketing people and advertisers because it definitely works. And again, I'm totally guilty of that myself. I tend to be a very nostalgic person. I love getting lost in nostalgia. Most of the music I listen to is from 30, 40, 50 years ago. I love older movies. I love old technology. That's why I started this channel. So definitely I do think the power of nostalgia is certainly a very big reason why people still gravitate towards older technology. Now, another reason, and this is something that tends to cause debate among people, is that many people feel that older technology was simply better quality. People will very quickly claim that, stuff that was made years ago was just better made, better constructed, it lasted longer. And I do agree that sometimes that sentiment is exaggerated, but I also feel that in many cases that sentiment is true. I know myself personally, I have many pieces of technology from the past that still work just as well as they did 30, 40 years ago. Again, this doesn't apply to every single piece of technology, but there's certain brands that I find are always very, very reliable. I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Realistic, the Realistic brand from Radio Shack. I have old Realistic tape decks that are 35, 40 years old that still work just like the day they were new. They work fantastically well. So I do think the better quality argument does have some truth to it. Another reason why is that simply because, a lot of these items, and this kind of ties into the previous reason of better quality, a lot of these items from the past are just no longer made. And if there's a certain item of technology that we used years ago that we always found very reliable, something that we're very, very used to and we really, truly enjoy using, why stop using it? I have headphones and other items that are decades old, but they still work great. So I'm going to still use them because I enjoy still using them. And a lot of these items are simply no longer being manufactured. And I think that would be a big reason explaining why the secondhand market is just so big nowadays. Another example I can think of course, I'm into old film cameras, and there's a line of lenses called Hexanon, and Hexanon lenses were manufactured by Konica. And I absolutely love Hexanon lenses. They're just such excellent quality. And I collect them when I find them secondhand. I buy them at any opportunity I can because I love them, they're great, they're reliable, and I really enjoy using them. I think another reason why old antiquated technology still remains quite popular is what I like to call retro cool. And, I'm not a big believer in this myself, but I have seen it many, many times where, you know, certain older pieces of technology are clutched to the heart of many sort of hipsters. You know, it's like we've seen waves of where hipsters like to use old film cameras or old telephones or old radios or what have you, vintage equipment and vintage technology in general. I think there's a certain element or a certain crowd that just automatically views everything that's retro is automatically cool. If it's old, if it's outdated, there's many people, I'm not saying everybody, but there's many people who feel that if it's retro, that automatically makes it cool. And I think that sort of retro cool is another big reason why people simply love retro tech. Another reason I can think of is because there's a lot of younger people today who simply weren't around the first time this technology was released. And they missed it the first time, so that of course they want to experience it now. And I think that is partly another reason why we have all these revivals, like film camera revivals and the cassette comeback and the VCR comeback. I think a lot of young people, people under the age of 30 who simply aren't old enough or weren't old enough to experience this technology the first time around, they're very excited and very eager to experience it now. It's kind of like when I was a teenager, you know, music from the 60s was very popular. And many of my teenage friends loved listening to 60s music. We weren't even alive when that music was first released, but we enjoyed discovering it, you know, years later. You know, better late than never, as many people will tell you. Also, I think another reason why people simply gravitate towards retro tech is it's a way of simplifying our lives, and it's a way of slowing down and really taking the pace of life down and really stopping and, you know, enjoying things. It's no secret that we live in a very fast-paced society. Everything nowadays is smartphones. We have instant information at our fingertips. We can find out anything within seconds. There's just so much information on the internet. When you think back to the older days, especially if you're the same age as me and you grew up in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have instant information. And there was something kind of charming about that. There's something charming about cassettes, for example. And I used to love recording old songs off the radio onto cassette when I was a kid. It's kind of like that. It's simplifying things and decluttering and really taking things down a few notches and just taking the time to breathe and stepping away from such a fast-paced, non-stop, rapid-fire lifestyle. I think a lot of people are very eager to do that. I saw a video the other day that talked about, you know, how there's a VHS tape revival, and there's more and more businesses popping up all around North America that rent VHS tapes. As I said earlier, I think a lot of younger people want to experience that. They heard about that. Maybe their parents told them about how they used to go and rent VHS tapes, and now the younger generation wants to experience that. Again, just a really fun way of slowing down and simplifying our lives. So those are a few reasons why I think retro technology remains so popular. Maybe you have your own thoughts and ideas. Please, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's always greatly appreciated, and it really helps my channel grow. Thank you for watching. Hope you can join us again next time. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.